My mom hid my college acceptance letter, so I exposed her in front of the whole family. I, 18, female, still can't believe what happened this weekend. My entire family dynamic has imploded, and I'm sitting in my room wondering if I went too far. I always knew my mom, 46, female, had issues with me moving away for college, but I never imagined she would actually hide my acceptance letter from my dream school and lie to my face about it. Then at our big family gathering, when I confronted her with the evidence, everything just exploded. Now my dad isn't speaking to her, my grandparents are taking sides, and I'm caught in the middle of a family war I never wanted to start. For context, I've always been the responsible one in our family. My younger brother, 16 male, is the athletic star who gets all the attention, while I'm the quiet, studious one who's expected to just handle everything on my own. My mom has always been weirdly possessive of me, much more than my brother. She monitors my social media, questions me about every friend I have, and has made it clear since I started high school that she expected me to attend a local community college while living at home. But I had bigger dreams. Since sophomore year, I've been working my ass off to get into Westfield University, a really good school about 4 hours away from home. It has an amazing program for what I want to study, environmental science, and I've been laser-focused on getting accepted. I maintained a 4.2 GPA, was president of 2 clubs, volunteered regularly, and even worked part-time to save up money. My mom knew all about this. It wasn't a secret, but she always dismissed it with comments like, "That's nice, honey, but you know the local college is perfectly good, or you'll change your mind when the time comes." I applied to 6 schools total, including Westfield, and had been checking the mail obsessively for weeks. Responses from other schools had started coming in, 3 acceptances, 2 wait lists, but nothing from Westfield. Then last week, I was using my mom's laptop to print something for school when a notification popped up from her email. The subject line caught my eye. Forward, "Congratulations from Westfield University admissions." My heart literally stopped. I clicked on it before I could even think, and there it was, a forwarded email from Westfield, dated 3 weeks ago, confirming they had sent my acceptance package and asking for my enrollment confirmation by the end of the month, which was just 1 week away. I was shaking as I read it. My mom had not only intercepted my letter, but had forwarded the email to herself and deleted it from our home email account that I regularly check. I scrolled through her email and found an entire folder labeled Westfield, with multiple emails from them, all forwarded from our family account. I wanted to confront her immediately, but something stopped me. The calculated nature of what she'd done scared me. This wasn't a momentary lapse in judgment. This was premeditated sabotage of my future. So instead, I took screenshots of everything, sent them to myself, and then closed her email as if I'd never seen it. That night at dinner, I casually mentioned still hoping to hear from Westfield. She looked me straight in the eyes and said, "I'm sure they'll let you know soon, honey, but don't get your hopes up. It's a very competitive school." The ease with which she lied to my face made my stomach turn. I spent the next 2 days in a fog, trying to figure out what to do. Should I confront her privately? Tell my dad? Report it to Westfield somehow? I felt like I was going crazy. This was my future she was messing with. The deadline to confirm enrollment was rushing at me, and my acceptance package was God knows where. I couldn't sleep, couldn't focus on schoolwork, couldn't even eat properly. Every time my mom asked if I was feeling okay, it took everything in me not to scream the truth at her. How could she do this to me? Did she really think I would never find out? Or was her plan to wait until after the enrollment deadline had passed, then discover the letter and act devastated that it was too late? The more I thought about it, the more betrayed I felt. I've always trusted my mom, even when I disagreed with her. We've had our fights and differences of opinion, but I never thought she would deliberately sabotage something this important to me. This wasn't just controlling behavior. This was a complete disregard for my autonomy as a person, for all the hard work I'd put in over the years. Then I remembered our upcoming family barbecue at my grandparents' house that weekend. Everyone would be there, my dad's parents, my mom's sister and her family, my dad's brother and his kids, all people who had supported my college dreams over the years, people who had listened to me talk about Westfield, who had encouraged me to apply, who had celebrated my other acceptance letters with me. and suddenly, I knew what I had to do. At the barbecue, our family was spread across my grandparents' backyard. Aunts, uncles, and cousins mingled around the grill while my grandfather told his famous fishing stories for the 100th time. Under normal circumstances, I would have loved this gathering, the familiar chaos, the overlapping conversations, the sense of belonging. But today, my stomach was in knots. I'd barely slept the night before, rehearsing what I would say, imagining every possible outcome. My phone felt heavy in my pocket. The screenshots of my mom's betrayal like a ticking bomb waiting to explode our family's peace. Part of me still hesitated. Was I really going to do this? In front of everyone? But then I'd remember the casual ways she'd lied to my face, how she was willing to derail my future without a second thought, and my resolve would harden again. The conversation naturally turned to college plans as we sat down to eat. My cousin had just committed to State University, and everyone was congratulating him. My uncle turned to me with a smile. "How about you, kiddo? Any news from that fancy school you've been talking about?" Before I could answer, my mom jumped in, putting her arm around me. "We're still waiting to hear from Westfield, but we're not counting on it. The local college has a lovely environmental studies certificate." The way she said, "we're still waiting," made something in me snap. This collective, she used, as if we were partners in this process, rather than her actively sabotaging me. I pulled out my phone, opened the screenshots, and handed it to my dad, who was standing nearby. Actually, I got accepted to Westfield 3 weeks ago, but Mom hid the acceptance letter and deleted the emails from our family account. The silence that fell over our backyard was deafening. My dad's face went from confusion to shock to something I've never seen before, a cold, controlled fury. My mom's grip on my shoulder suddenly went slack. "What is she talking about?" My dad asked my mom, his voice terrifyingly quiet. My mom's face went white. I was going to tell her. I just wanted to make sure she was making the right choice, that's all." My grandfather, who had been standing nearby, took my phone and looked at the screenshots. "These are dated from last month. Lisa," he said, using my mom's name instead of the affectionate sweetheart he usually calls her. "You can't be serious," my aunt said, looking at the phone over my grandfather's shoulder. "You hid her college acceptance letter?" My mom's eyes darted around at the circle of shocked faces. "You all don't understand," she said, her voice rising defensively. "Westfield is so far away, and she's too young to be living on her own. I was protecting her." By lying to her, my dad's voice was still quiet, but there was an edge to it now that made everyone flinch. "By hiding communications from a university? Do you realize what you've done? The deadline for enrollment is next week." My mom burst into tears, but they didn't move me the way they usually would. I just wanted more time. I was going to show her the letter. I just needed her to consider her options carefully. Options? I found my voice again. "You've been pushing the local college for years. You never wanted me to have options." What followed was chaos. My mom fled inside the house, sobbing. My dad followed, his voice raised now. My brother stood frozen, looking lost. My aunts and uncles exchanged uncomfortable glances, while my cousins pretended to be fascinated by their phones. My aunt pulled me aside, her arm around my shoulders. "Are you okay?" she asked quietly. I wasn't sure how to answer. Relief at finally exposing the truth ward with the shock of the family explosion I just triggered. "I don't know," I admitted. "I didn't know what else to do. The enrollment deadline is next week, and she wasn't going to tell me." My dad emerged from the house, his face set in grim lines. "Where's the acceptance package?" he demanded, loud enough for my mom to hear from wherever she was hiding. A long pause. Then my mom's voice, small and defeated, in my closet, behind my winter sweaters. The party effectively ended after that. My mom's sister took her home while my dad, brother, and I stayed behind to apologize to my grandparents for the drama. My grandmother hugged me tightly. "You did what you had to do," she whispered in my ear. "Don't you dare feel guilty about this." But I did feel guilty. Not about exposing the truth, but about the public way I'd done it. As angry as I was, seeing my mom's humiliation didn't bring the satisfaction I'd expected. Just a hollow feeling and the certainty that our relationship would never be the same. Update 1, 2 days later. The first 48 hours after the barbecue were like living in a pressure cooker. Dad drove us home in complete silence, knuckles white on the steering wheel. Mom was already there when we arrived, eyes red and puffy, sitting small and defeated at the kitchen table. She tried to reach for my hand as I walked past, but I couldn't bring myself to take it. "We'll deal with this tomorrow," Dad said in a clipped voice that left no room for argument. "Everyone get some sleep." Sleep. Right. As if any of us could sleep after what had happened. That night, I lay awake staring at my ceiling, replaying the confrontation on an endless loop, the shock on everyone's faces, my mom's desperate tears, my dad's controlled fury. Had I gone nuclear when a private conversation might have worked? But then I'd remember how easily she'd lied to my face about the letter, and doubt would give way to righteous anger again. Round and round my thoughts went, until dawn filtered through my blinds. The next morning, Dad was up early making calls from his home office. Mom moved through the house like a ghost, not quite meeting anyone's eyes. My brother retreated to his room, headphones firmly in place, clearly wanting no part of the family drama. The silence between us all was suffocating. Around noon, Dad knocked on my door. "Get dressed," he said. "We're going to get your acceptance package." The drive to the house was tense. Dad attempted small talk, about the weather, about an upcoming movie release, transparently trying to normalize an abnormal situation. I answered in monosyllables, stomach churning with anticipation and dread. Mom was waiting for us in the living room, the Westfield package clutched against her shield. When she handed it to me, her fingers lingered on the envelope a moment too long, as if she still couldn't quite let go. "The enrollment form is still inside," she said softly. I didn't fill anything out or change anything. I took the package and checked. Everything was there, untouched. The validation of my achievement, the welcoming letters, the housing forms, the course registration information. All the excitement I should have felt weeks ago rushed through me, but it was tainted now by everything that had happened. Dad helped me fill everything out right there at the kitchen table, his reading glasses perched on the end of his nose as he double-checked every detail. Mom hovered in the doorway, watching silently. When we finished, Dad grabbed his keys again. "I'm taking this to FedEx myself. It'll be there tomorrow morning with a note explaining the situation." After he left, Mom approached me cautiously. "I know you must hate me right now," she began. "I don't hate you," I said, and it was true. What I felt was more complicated than hate. Disappointment, betrayal, confusion. I just don't understand how you could do this. "I was so scared of losing you," she whispered. "You've always been my rock, more than your brother, more than anyone. The thought of you so far away, starting a life without me." She trailed off, wiping at her eyes. "It's not an excuse. I know that now. I panicked. I wanted to comfort her. The instinct to ease her pain was so deeply ingrained, but I held back. This wasn't my burden to carry. "I need some time," I said finally, and retreated to my room. That evening, the admissions office from Westfield called. The woman was incredibly understanding, assuring me this wasn't the first time they'd dealt with parental interference. They would process my enrollment, despite the deadline. Relief flooded through me. I hadn't lost my chance, after all. When Dad came home, a weight seemed to have lifted from his shoulders. "It's done," he told me. "You're officially enrolled at Westfield for the fall semester." For the first time since the barbecue, I felt myself smile. Later that night, Dad and I sat on the back porch, watching fireflies appear in the gathering dusk. "I'm sorry I didn't see what was happening," he said quietly. "I should have been paying more attention." "It's not your fault," I assured him. "No, but it is my responsibility. You're my daughter. I should have protected you better." He looked at me, really looked at me, perhaps seeing me as an adult for the first time. "I'm proud of you for standing up for yourself." That took real courage. That simple validation broke something open in me, and suddenly I was crying for everything that had happened, for the mother I thought I knew, for the family that would never be quite the same. Dad put his arm around me and let me cry it out. "We'll get through this," he promised. "All of us. It'll just take time." I wanted to believe him, But as I finally drifted off to sleep that night, I wondered if some broken things can never truly be fixed. 2 weeks after the barbecue incident, my mom knocked on my bedroom door. This in itself was remarkable before she would have just walked in. The small gesture of respect for my privacy reflected the seismic shift in our family dynamics. "Can we talk?" she asked, hovering in the doorway. She looked different somehow, smaller, less certain, but also more present than she'd been in the emotional chaos of the past weeks. I nodded, putting aside the Westfield course catalog I'd been browsing. She sat gingerly on the edge of my bed, hands clasped tightly in her lap. "I'm seeing a therapist," she said without preamble. "Your father and I had a long conversation, and we both agreed it's necessary." This surprised me. My mom had always dismissed therapy as paying strangers to listen to your problems whenever the subject came up at family gatherings. Her sister had suggested it years ago during a rough patch, and Mom had brushed it off completely. "That's good," I said carefully. "Dr. Winters says I have attachment issues," she continued, the clinical terms sounding strange in her mouth. "She says my fear of abandonment is making me try to control the people I love." She took a deep breath. "Apparently, it's not normal to feel physical panic at the thought of your child moving away for college." I didn't know how to respond to this level of self-awareness from my mother. It was like talking to a stranger wearing her face. "I know an apology isn't enough," she went on, "but I am truly sorry, Emily. What I did wasn't just wrong. It was a betrayal of your trust. There's no excuse for that." For the first time since discovering the hidden acceptance letter, her apology didn't come with qualifiers or explanations about her intentions. It was simply an acknowledgement of the harm she'd caused. She reached into her pocket and pulled out an envelope. "This is for you." Inside was a check, a substantial one, with Westfield University fall semester written on the memo line. "Mom, please," she cut me off gently. "Let me do this. I know money doesn't fix what happened, but I want to support your dreams, even if they take you away from me. That's what real love should do, right? Support, not restrict." I studied her face, looking for signs of the emotional manipulation that had been our currency for so long, but her eyes were clear, her expression open. This felt different, real. "Thank you," I said simply, and was rewarded with a tremulous smile. Later that week, I received a lengthy text message from my maternal grandmother that landed like a stone in my stomach. Unlike my mom's genuine apology, this was a masterclass in emotional manipulation. Family business should be handled within the family. Your poor mother is devastated. When you're older, you'll understand a mother's love. It went on and on, effectively blaming me for the fallout of my mom's deception. I showed it to Dad, who read it with a deepening frown. "Your grandmother means well," he said diplomatically, "but she's wrong on this one. You don't owe anyone your silence when they've wronged you." His clarity was comforting in the face of my grandmother's guilt trip. In contrast, my paternal grandparents had become my unexpected champions. Grandpa called every other day to check on me, and Grandma started sending links to articles about college life and dorm room organization. "We're so proud of you," she said during one call. "Not just for getting into Westfield, but for standing up for yourself. That's a skill that will serve you well in life." My relationship with my brother transformed too. One evening, he knocked on my door and awkwardly asked if I could help him research some colleges. "I know it's early," he said, shuffling his feet, "but I've been thinking maybe I don't want to just go wherever the baseball scholarship takes me." We spent the night browsing college websites, talking about his interests beyond sports, possibilities he'd never considered before. "I always thought you had it all figured out," he admitted. "Like, you always knew exactly what you wanted." I laughed at that. "Are you kidding? I've been terrified. I just got good at pretending I wasn't." His eyes widened. "Seriously? But you always seem so confident. Fake it till you make it, little brother." I grinned at him. "But don't fake it so well that you forget to ask for help when you need it." That was my mistake. The conversation left me feeling lighter somehow, as if in helping him navigate his future, I was making peace with the complications of my own. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, our family began to heal. Not back to what it was before, that was impossible, but into something new, something more honest, with clearer boundaries and more open communication. The night Mom came home from therapy and actually disagreed with Dad about a household decision without dissolving into tears was a small victory that didn't go unnoticed by any of us. I still had moments of anger and doubt, especially late at night when I'd replay the confrontation and its aftermath. But increasingly, these moments were balanced by a strange new feeling. Hope. Not just for my future at Westfield, but for what our family might become once the initial earthquake of truth had settled. Final update, 1 month later. Move-in day at Westfield arrived with perfect late summer weather, clear blue skies, a gentle breeze, and that particular golden quality of sunlight that marks the transition from summer to fall. My belongings were packed into our family SUV with Tetris-like precision, the culmination of weeks of shopping, planning, and packing. The drive to campus was charged with a complex mix of emotions. Dad was chatty, pointing out landmarks and sharing stories from his own college days. Mom was quieter but present in a way she hadn't been before, asking thoughtful questions about my class schedule and dorm arrangements, without the thinly veiled anxiety that had previously colored such conversations. "Your roommate seems nice from her emails," she offered as we crossed the state line. "It was smart of you to connect with her ahead of time." This small acknowledgement of my capability to make good decisions might have gone unnoticed a few months ago, but now it registered as significant progress. I caught Dad's quick glance of approval in the rearview mirror. The campus was buzzing with move-in activity when we arrived, cars unloading, parents hugging teary freshmen, orientation volunteers in bright t-shirts directing traffic. My stomach fluttered with a mixture of excitement and terror. This was it. The future I'd fought for was finally here. My dorm room was small but bright, with 2 narrow beds, simple desks, and a shared closet. My roommate Kate hadn't arrived yet, so we had the space to ourselves as we unloaded my things. Mom immediately took charge of making my bed with the new sheets and comforter we'd picked out together, a task that seemed to calm her. Dad focused on assembling a small bookshelf, while I arranged my desk supplies and hung photos on the wall. There was something surreal about seeing my parents in this new space that was entirely mine. They looked simultaneously out of place and exactly where they should be, helping me transition to this next phase of life. I caught Mom looking at a photo I'd hung of the 3 of us from a beach trip years ago, her fingers brushing the frame gently. "You okay?" I asked quietly, coming to stand beside her. She nodded, blinking rapidly. "Just proud," she whispered, "and a little sad, but mostly proud." The moment was interrupted by Kate's arrival with her own family, bringing a flurry of new introductions and the cooperative chaos of 2 families trying to organize a shared space. By late afternoon, both sides of the room were set up, and the inevitable moment of parting could no longer be postponed. We walked together to the parking lot, the conversation growing more stilted with each step. When we reached our car, Mom surprised me by pulling a small wrapped package from her purse. Just a little something. "Don't open it now," she said, pressing it into my hands. "Wait until tonight, when you're settled." Dad hugged me hard. "You've got this," he said firmly, "and if you don't, that's okay too. We're always here." Then it was Mom's turn. She wrapped her arms around me, and I felt her trembling slightly with suppressed emotion. "I'm so sorry for almost taking this away from you," she whispered, so quietly that only I could hear. "Thank you for fighting for it anyway." And then they were in the car, waving as they drove away, growing smaller until they turned a corner and disappeared from view. I stood in the parking lot, surrounded by other freshmen having similar moments of separation, feeling oddly weightless. The package from Mom felt heavy in my hands, but I respected her wishes and tucked it into my pocket for later. That evening, after orientation activities and an awkward first dinner with my new floor mates, I finally had a moment alone. Kate was at a mixer for pre-med students, and the dorm room felt eerily quiet after the day's commotion. I sat cross-legged on my new bed and carefully opened Mom's package. Inside was a journal, bound in soft leather, with my initials embossed on the cover. A note was tucked inside the front cover, written in Mom's familiar handwriting. For all your new beginnings. I hope you'll share some of them with me, but I understand if you don't. I'm learning that love means letting go, not holding on too tight. I'm so proud of the woman you're becoming, braver than I ever was at your age. All my love, Mom. I traced my fingers over the words, feeling the slight indentations her pen had made in the paper. It was perhaps the honest communication we'd ever had. Later, as I lay in my unfamiliar bed listening to Kate's steady breathing from across the room, I realized that the knot of anxiety I'd been carrying for months had finally begun to loosen. The future stretched before me, unknown but full of possibility. For the first time, I felt truly ready to step into it. 3 weeks into my first semester at Westfield, I'm finally finding my rhythm. The initial disorientation of navigating a new campus, absorbing syllabus after syllabus, and remembering countless names has given way to something resembling routine. My environmental science classes are challenging, but fascinating. Kate and I have settled into a comfortable roommate relationship, not best friends, but respectful allies in the strange new world of college life. I've even joined the campus environmental action group and started volunteering at the university's greenhouse. Tonight, sitting at my desk while Kate is at a study group, I find myself reflecting on everything that's happened in the past few months. The fairy lights strung above my bed cast a warm glow over the room, creating a bubble of calm that invites introspection. The journal Mom gave me lies open before me, half filled already with observations, anxieties, small victories, and lingering questions. Chief among those questions, did I do the right thing? Was publicly exposing my mom's deception at the family barbecue the right course of action? Sometimes I still wake up at night, replaying the shock and hurt on her face when everyone realized what she'd done. I wonder if I could have found a gentler way to address the situation, a private conversation that might have spared her the public humiliation. But then I remember the calculated way she intercepted those emails, created that hidden folder, looked me in the eye, and lied. Would a private confrontation have been enough to break through that level of deception? Or would she have found a way to manipulate the situation, to gaslight me into doubting what I'd seen with my own eyes? Even now, with the clarity of distance, I'm not sure. What I do know is that the painful explosion that followed created space for real change in our family. Mom's therapy seems to be genuinely helping her. Our phone calls, while sometimes still awkward, have a new honesty to them that was missing before. She asks about my classes and actually listens to my answers instead of immediately steering the conversation toward reasons I should come home for the weekend. Last week, she even mentioned she's thinking about taking some community college classes herself, something she's talked about for years but never pursued. Dad calls every Sunday like clockwork, our conversations flowing more easily than they ever did in person. He's planning to visit campus next month for family weekend, and I'm genuinely looking forward to showing him around. My brother texts me random updates about his baseball games and college research, along with the occasional meme that makes me laugh out loud in the middle of the library. As for me, I'm discovering parts of myself that never had room to emerge at home. I'm more outgoing than I realized, more willing to take risks. Yesterday, I raised my hand in a lecture hall of 200 students to challenge a point the professor made about climate policy. My heart was pounding so hard I could barely hear my own voice, but I did it anyway. Last weekend, I went hiking with a group of students I barely knew and ended up stargazing on a mountain until 2 a.m., having conversations about life and philosophy and the future. I'm not the same person who discovered that hidden acceptance letter just a few months ago. That girl was afraid to upset the family balance, to assert her own needs if they conflicted with her mother's emotional comfort. She'd been conditioned to manage everyone else's feelings at the expense of her own. I don't think I'll ever be completely free of that tendency. Those patterns run deep, but I'm learning to recognize it when it happens, to pause and ask myself what I actually want rather than automatically accommodating others. The strangest realization has been that I can love my family deeply while also establishing boundaries with them. That maintaining my autonomy doesn't mean destroying our connection. That healthy relationships can bend and adapt to change without breaking. These seem like such obvious truths, but they've been revelations to me. Mom's note comes back to me often. I'm learning that love means letting go, not holding on too tight. Maybe that's the lesson for both of us, that real love creates space for growth rather than trying to contain and control. That the strongest connections are the ones that can stretch across distance, across disagreement, across change. I don't have all the answers yet. Some days, I still feel like I'm playing at being an adult, waiting for someone to notice I don't know what I'm doing. I still get homesick sometimes, missing the familiar rhythms of my old life even as I embrace the excitement of the new. I still worry about Mom, about whether she's truly healing or just finding more subtle ways to manage her anxiety. But for the first time, I feel like I'm authoring my own story rather than playing a prescribed role in someone else's. The future stretches before me, uncertain but full of possibility. And whatever happens next, I know I have the strength to face it, because I already have. Was exposing my mom in front of the whole family the right thing to do? I'm still not sure. But it was my choice, made in a moment of desperate clarity, and I'm making peace with both the intention behind it and the consequences that followed. Some battles need to be fought in the open, even when they leave scars. Some truths need to be spoken aloud, even when the speaking hurts. And sometimes, the most loving thing we can do for each other is to shatter the comfortable illusions that keep us small.